Hello MCPS students, thank you for tuning in to watch the annual SMOB Meet the Candidates video. My name is Sammy Saeed and I am the current student member of the Board of Education for the 2023 to 2024 school year. Last year, you all elected me to be your representative on the Board of Education, and today you are going to be hearing from the two finalists who are running to be the next student member of the board. But before we hear from our candidates, let me give you all a recap of some of the changes we've accomplished this year. Starting at the beginning of the school year in September, I hit the ground running by hosting the largest in-person SMOB Advisory Council meeting in MCPS history with over 250 students present. In October, I worked with my advisory council to write and successfully pass a comprehensive safety resolution at the Board of Education to keep our schools safe. The resolution includes focuses such as increased training for security staff, additional safety technology in schools, and better communication during safety incidents. Moving into December, I worked with the Division of Food and Nutrition Services to help accomplish a goal that students have been advocating for years, which was to improve school lunches. I am proud to say that this year, the Division of Food and Nutrition Services added over 6 new menu items to the school lunch menu, including Korean barbecue chicken and a loaded potato dish with beef and cheese. The best part is that these menu items were taste tested by hundreds of students in their own cafeterias. Furthermore, we launched the largest district-wide school lunch survey in MCPS history that went out to all elementary, middle, and high school students in February. Student representation was also one of my key goals entering office, which I fought for in many different ways. First, by forming and utilizing a SMOB advisory council of over 700 students from across MCPS, I ensured that my work was guided by the voices of diverse groups of students at many different schools. Furthermore, by conducting hundreds of polls and surveys through social media, I was able to directly showcase students' thoughts and opinions on key decisions. And just as I promised in last year's Meet the Candidates videos, my polls and surveys made it into board meetings, influencing change in key areas such as the school year calendar. But most importantly, by conducting over 35 school visits so far, I am able to directly hear from all of you to ensure that I am reaching as many students as possible during my time in office. In the last few months, I've been busy fulfilling campaign goals before the end of my term as SMOB. During this time, I successfully ensured the removal of GoGuardian from the MCPS budget, helped get educational websites unblocked for students, and even advocated to changes to the homework policy to ensure students are not overworked. Currently, I am once again working with my SMOB Advisory Council to write a resolution to the Board of Education to formally establish wellness days in schools. And finally, I ensured that my goal of effectively communicating with students was accomplished through posting engaging social media posts on a number of different topics, ranging from board meeting recaps to videos of my school visits. Furthermore, by successfully bringing back the SMOB monthly message, I was able to ensure students were informed about the work of MCPS in their classes rather than just online. Overall, I would say we had a pretty successful year that was full of accomplishments to enhance the student experience in MCPS. But most importantly, I want to thank all of you. Each and every interaction I've had with students reminded me of why I ran for SMOB and the passionate advocacy I've seen during my term, from board testimonies to conversations in school cafeterias, has demonstrated why the student voice is so important in MCPS. To put it simply, I couldn't have done my job without the help and support of all of you. So keep up the fantastic work and continue to show the world how valuable and how powerful our students truly are. Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Anila Shamsu and I'm a senior at Wooten High School and one of your special elections administrators this year. The other special elections administrator is Jason Liao, a junior at Poolesville High School. Together, we lead what's called the Special Elections Committee, which is a group of students from across Montgomery County charged with organizing and running the entire SMOB election. On February 14th, we held the annual nomination convention that was attended by nearly 500 student delegates from middle and high schools across the county. The diverse field of 8 candidates was narrowed down to our 2 finalists. One of our 2 finalists will be elected by students in grades 6 through 12 to serve on Montgomery County's Board of Education as a full voting member. The Montgomery County SMOB is only one of 3 SMOBs in the entire state of Maryland to have full voting rights, giving us a unique opportunity for student voice. This election has nearly 80,000 eligible voters, including outgoing seniors like me. It's very important that every student cast their vote in this process and has their voice heard. The Special Elections Committee has developed many resources for students to learn about these 2 candidates and allow for all students to make an informed vote. In order to be an informed voter, you'll receive key information via email and hear both candidates speak on this program. You will receive voter guides that include detailed information about each candidate's platform and their answers to a few questions about key issues. These voter guides will be emailed to your MCPS account along with Election Day reminders and a sample preview of the ballot. On Election Day, you will go to your MCPS student email account and open the electronic ballot. The ballot identifies each candidate and lists a summary of their platform and ideas on the voting screen. This year, Election Day will be held on Wednesday, April 17, 2024. The ballot will open at 7:30 a.m. and close at 3:30 p.m. Thank you all so much for listening, and we can't wait to see you turn out to vote on April 17th.
Today, you will have a moment to learn about each of our 2 candidates who are seeking your vote to serve as the 47th student member of the Board of Education. The 2 candidates elected at the February 14th SMOB Nominating Convention are Ms. Sam Ross and Mr. Praneel Suvarna. Each candidate will have a moment to briefly introduce themselves, and then they will share their positions on a few key issues important to students across Montgomery County. The program will help you be best prepared to vote in the SMOB election on April 17th, 2024. Today's program is different than in years past. It includes a pre-recorded introduction from each candidate, a live recorded question and answer period, and a lightning round of questions to get to know our candidates better. Let's begin with the pre-recorded introductions from each candidate. First, we will hear from candidate Sam Ross.
I've spent the past 2 years fighting for students. I've worked tirelessly to represent you and create change. Sitting at the board table and sharing the student perspective 13 times, serving on official MCPS committees and working as Chief of Staff of SAMY's SMOB Advisory Council. My name is Sam Ross, and I'm running to fight for you. My goals as SMOB are simple: improving safety and wellness through transparency and innovative technologies, supporting student achievement by rethinking teaching practices and keeping free AP and IB exams, and benefiting student life by improving school lunches and funding extracurricular activities. But I want your voice in the conversation. As your SMOB, I will visit all 67 Midland high schools to get your voice and opinion, so every student has a chance to tell me their perspective. I'm fighting to make your voice a priority at the board table, and I'm committed to getting started on day 1 to finally deliver on the change we as students so desperately need.
Now, we will hear from candidate Praneel Suvarna.
My name is Praneel Suvarna, and I'm a junior at Clarksburg High School. It's been a journey to get to this point, but I'm so grateful to be standing before you, fighting for the change that you want to see within MCPS. As the current Vice President of the Montgomery County Regional Student Government Association and my school's class president, I've connected with hundreds, if not thousands, of students on the issues that matter to them. Through my work as the Field Organization Director for MoCo for Change, alongside working as a certified workshop presenter for the Maryland Association of Student Councils, I've been able to take action on these issues and create meaningful change in MCPS. As a former varsity wrestler and a member of my school's theater and choir programs, I've been able to use my experience to connect with students across the county in order to make MCPS a better place for all. I hope through the rest of this video you'll learn a little bit more about me and my goals for the future of MCPS. Thank you.
Those were great introductions. Now let's hear directly from them. The remainder of this program is recorded live in the MCPS TV studio. There are no edits, so what you see and hear are as they happen live. Today, we will have a series of questions to ask and learn more about each of our 2 finalists and their vision for their work in the SMOB position. We've recorded questions from students from across MCPS, and we'll play each one. I'll ask each candidate to keep their responses to 30 seconds so we have time to discuss multiple different issues. Welcome, Sam and Praneel. Sam, we will begin with you and alternate who answers first as we go. Let's hear question 1.
How would you describe the role of SMOB? And if elected, how would you seek to innovate the position?
Fantastic question. We'll start with Sam Ross.
Right now, the role of SMOB is to be the one student in MCPS who gets to say, here's what we as students think. My vision for innovating on that is ensuring that every single student feels empowered to step up and say what they feel about MCPS.
Great. Now we'll hear from Praneel.
The role of SMOB obviously consists of being able to vote on a $3.2 billion budget, but it also consists of connecting with students. Making sure that I'm connecting with students will be one of my priorities when talking about my role as the student member of the board. I want to be at your sporting events, your concerts, and your theater programs to make sure that I'm really connecting with you all as students.
Great. Now we'll hear our second question.
How have your experiences as a student prepared you to be the next SMOB?
Thank you. This time, we'll start with Praneel.
I would have to say my diverse set of experiences across the county would have to be the #1 contributor to my experience as student member of the board. Having been a varsity wrestler, an athlete, alongside being a member of my theater and choir productions in my school has allowed me to connect to students across the county. And those are the types of experiences that I want to be able to use in order to best connect with students across the county. It's important to me that every single student voice is heard, and that comes from my experience.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Sam.
I've been proud to be a lifelong DCC student, a student athlete, and quite honestly, just a student trying to get through school like the rest of you. But frankly, what I consider my most valuable experience in MCPS has been being able to work on a diverse array of issues affecting students of all backgrounds across the entire county. Not just from the DCC, not just athletics issues like those which have affected me, but ones that relate to every single student.
Great. Let's hear our next question.
How do you plan to communicate with students across the county?
Great question. First, we'll hear from Sam.
I intend to fully continue many of the current communication strategies we have on social media with the SMOB Minute and with the SMOB Advisory Council. However, my biggest commitment to students during the campaign trail has been to visit all 67 middle and high schools so I can hear about the issues at your school from you, in your school, in tu idioma, no matter if you can make it to a SMOB Advisory Council meeting, if you have email, or if you have social media.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Praneel.
I would have to say communication has to be tailor-made to different groups within MCPS. For our middle schoolers, that might look something more like school announcements, Canvas announcements, and the SMOB Monthly Minute. For our high schoolers, that might look something more like social media. Alongside this, I want to utilize the SMOB Advisory Council to connect with our underrepresented students. By having a DCC and NEC specific sub-cabinet, I want to make sure that we're reaching our underrepresented students and making sure their voices are being heard. I also promise to visit every middle and high school throughout the course of my term. I promise you that your voice will be heard.
Great. I know firsthand how important communication is. Let's hear our next question.
How will you ensure that you are held accountable for your campaign promises?
Great question. This time, we'll start with Praneel.
The #1 way I promise to make sure that my promises are being acted on is by starting off making sure that my promises are achievable. Throughout the course of my campaign, I made sure to only have achievable promises within my campaign promises, and also make sure that my promises are something that are achievable. Alongside this, making sure that these promises are something that I've already created action on, like the drug and opioid crisis, which I've already worked to create action on within MCPS.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to Sam.
First and foremost, I know the role of SMOB. I know what you can and can't do, which is why I've never made a campaign promise which I know I can't live up to. For example, improving student lunch, I would love to just wave a magic wand and fix all of it. But I know that more realistically, I can protest vote no on any contracts which might give our money to lower quality suppliers. Additionally, I know I can put forth resolutions improving things like our extracurriculars. Besides that, if you don't agree with what I'm doing, I'm always open to feedback. I expect to be held to the same regard as any other board member and expect all students to be able to contact me.
Nice. Let's hear our next question.
As a member of the Board of Education, you will work to build and eventually vote to pass a multi-billion-dollar operating budget. What items will you prioritize in the next operating budget?
That's a really important question. This time, we'll start with Sam.
It's simple. My priorities are your priorities. Right now, I know we need to keep our free AP and IB tests to ensure that there are no monetary barriers to success. We need to keep our social workers, our counselors, and our mental health resources to ensure we feel safe and feel well in school. And lastly, we need to ensure that we're prioritizing student priorities within the budget, such as athletics, extracurriculars, and lunches. But if you have more to tell me, I'm always open to hearing more.
Great. We'll move on to Praneel.
Student mental health resources have to be at the top of our priority list. This means making sure that our school counselors and our school psychologists are still being funded within the budget. But alongside this, I want to be innovative. I want to see if we can make sure that all of our school lunches are free, which is something that I've already fought for at the statewide level. This might seem like a big promise, but it's also something that I've already worked towards and want to work towards when we talk about the budget.
Great question and answers, as understanding the budget is a major responsibility of our SMOB. Let's hear our next question.
What qualities make you unique as a SMOB candidate?
That's a great question. This time, we'll start with Praneel.
I would have to say my most unique quality is definitely my passion. I'm passionate about the role of student member of the board, and I've dedicated the last 2 or 3 years of my life to running for this position and also making sure that students within the county are being heard and represented. It's up to us to make sure our voices are heard, and it's up to you all to choose the SMOB candidate who best represents you.
Great. Next, we'll hear from Sam.
What I believe makes me unique, similar to Praneel, is that this is my passion. I want to go on and study education in college. I want to return and work for a school system like MCPS or MCPS. This has always been my top priority, so I've always focused on all the issues affecting students across all clusters of the county. I've never focused just on my school SGA or just on issues affecting a few students, because I know the role of SMOB and the role of MCPS at large is to address issues affecting all students.
Great. Let's hear our next question.
What do you think is the most important issue facing MCPS students today?
And how do you plan to address it?
That is an amazing question. This time, we'll start with Sam.
Nice shot, Tandy. I would have to say my top priority are your priorities. Things like being heard is my #1 issue, because we can hear about our buildings, our mental health, our lunches, but at the end of the day, we don't know how to solve those. We don't even know how to find those issues within our schools unless you are being heard. I want to empower every single student to have the confidence to tell me, hey, I'm dealing with this at my school. What can we do to fix it?
Great. Next, we'll move on to Praneel.
By and large, the most important issue that we have within Montgomery County has to be school safety and the drug and opioid crisis. This is something that I've already worked towards and want to continue working towards in the future. Alongside this, we need to make sure our students are being safe, and that also starts with mental health resources. Making sure that students have adequate access to mental health resources is a top priority for me. And making sure that we're creating action on these issues and not just talking about it is, again, a #1 priority for me.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts as you responded to the student questions. Now, we will proceed to a lightning round, where I will ask questions to each of you to share an immediate response under 15 seconds. This time, we will begin with Praneel and then alternate who begins answering first. Are you ready? Great. Here we go. The first question is, how would your friends best describe you? Praneel?
I think my friends would best describe me as someone who is, reliable, but they would also describe me as someone who's, always a little bit goofy. I try to be goofy with my friends, and that's something that I also, try to keep it lighthearted most of the time.
Great. Sam?
I'd have to either say nerdy or hardworking. I spend a lot of time up here and working with MCPS, and I know sometimes it can kind of get in the way of me and my friends' plans, but at the end of the day, I know that they say it positively, so.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Next question. This is a really hot topic. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Yes or no, and why? Sam?
No. A sandwich means that there are 2 unconnected pieces of bread with something in between them. You can't say that a taco is a sandwich the same way you can't say that a hot dog is a sandwich, because there's something connecting the 2 pieces of bread, or in a taco's case, a tortilla.
Thanks. Praneel, what's your take?
I would have to go the opposite way. I think a hot dog is a sandwich because when we have 2 pieces of bread and meat in the middle, I think that's definitely a sandwich. And when we're talking about sandwiches, we also consider Subway's sandwiches, and so they're also connected. So I have to say a hot dog is a sandwich.
As you can see, this is clearly a very spirited debate. The next question is, what do you admire most about the other candidate? This time, we'll start with Praneel.
I would have to say the thing that I admire most about Sam is her passion and also her experience. I know she's worked a lot within MCPS, and I'm hoping that her experience shows through in the rest of her campaign.
Thank you. Sam?
Praneel mentioned it earlier. We've known each other for a long time. I would definitely have to say his humor, his spirit, and the fun that he brings to every single room and conversation that he's in.
Thanks, Sam. Last one. What is one superpower you wish you had, and what would you do with it? Sam?
Well, I'm from Tacoma Park. It takes quite a while to get anywhere where I need to be in Montgomery County. And while I definitely am willing to make those 40-minute car rides to get to things like this today, I would love to be able to teleport up here and maybe have a little more time to sleep in every morning.
Great. Praneel?
I would have to go with the power to clone myself. This might seem like a crazy answer, but being able to clone myself would allow me to sleep while also doing my work, and I think that would just be an excellent use of my time and be able to benefit, everybody in Montgomery County.
Great answers, candidates. Thank you so much for sharing this time with us. That's all the time we have for our discussion. We encourage students to invite the candidates to visit their schools and meet with you before the election on April 17th. Each candidate will now have an opportunity to provide a closing statement. Sam will speak first.
I have one message for you. Change is possible. I know it's possible when we use our voice. That's why I want to hear from you. I want to hear about your schools, your mental health, your clubs, your classes, and about your experiences. But some things have been loud and clear for years. There's a visible inequity in MCPS, the historical marginalization of DCC and NEC schools such as my own, and students from diverse backgrounds means we must prioritize those students today. The lack of support students get for their mental health as we go through one of the worst mental health crises of all time cannot continue. We must hear the issues that only students care about, the issues constantly left behind, like the need for better school lunches, more funding for student clubs, and keeping student voice and opinion at the forefront of decision making. So let's be heard together. This is our moment to make MCPS a system for us. I have only one ask for you, that you let me take my record of action to the board table and vote me, Sam Ross, as your 47th SMOB to get it done.
Now, let us hear from Praneel.
I stand before you today as a SMOB candidate, but I hope that all of you can see me first and foremost as a student. Because for the entirety of my time in MCPS, I have been a student just like you. I've taken on leadership roles, testified in front of the Board of Education, and raised money to combat the drug crisis. But I've also failed tests, been through lockdowns, and eaten some questionable cafeteria food. I know from my own experience what it's like to stay silent, because for a long time, I was. So when I stand here before you, I'm asking for your vote, but I'm also asking for your trust, your faith, and your belief in the power of student voices. I don't want to speak for you. I want to amplify your voice. Together, we can create a school system that not only educates, but inspires. I can't do this alone. I need your ideas, I need your passion, and I need your vote. So when you cast your ballot, vote Praneel for SMOB so we can ensure that the future of our county is something we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam and Praneel. Students, the choice is yours and the results will have an incredible impact on you and the school system. Whether you are a sixth grader who will vote for the first time or a senior who will vote for the last time, the vote is yours to cast. Make your vote count and vote on April 17th, 2024.